In this video, I chat with Foundry and talk about what the future looks like with AI and Gaussian Splats in Nuke. All right, Juan, good to see you.
Nice to see you, mate. It's good to be at NAB again.
All right, so tell me what's been happening with Foundry.
What hasn't been happening? It's been a very, very, very long year with great stuff. Nuke 17 came out. Nuke Stage is been running up on shows. It's been really interesting to see it up and coming. Obviously, we have Griptape as well happening the last couple of weeks. So yeah, it's been a very, very busy year for us.
I'll get to Griptape and AI in a sec, but yeah, last year when we chatted, you had announced, or Foundry had announced Nuke Stage. So kind of what's been happening with that?
It's been a very interesting year. Obviously, after we announced it, we had a lot of people wanting to have a chat about it, try to figure out where we could fit, what we were trying to do. And what we tried to do this year was actually working with productions. So we actually have done a really good production out there that tested exactly the points that we're trying to make about how you move compositors in to be the people in the stage, as well as kind of thinking how you bring those techniques that we have done all these years with matte painting into the stage with Nuke. So it was very nice. We actually had that production. There's a couple of other productions up and running. So yeah, there has been a lot of learnings and hopefully people realizing that we are trying to make virtual production in a good space.
I'm gonna come back to it in a sec because it's probably gonna tie into the AI question, but then tell me about the Griptape acquisition.
Yeah, we were very lucky in a way to suddenly meet with Jason and Cal and team and realize the amazing stuff that they were doing. We've been talking to everyone, trying to understand what is the future for us as visual effects, as the productions are moving and how we're changing. And we're trying to find the right tooling. And if you actually look at Griptape, funnily enough, under the hood, there is no AI. Right? It's a Python orchestration system to make this work. It was an amazing chance for us to find the right people that actually care about the industry and that we care about the industry and how we can actually move that forward.
When the acquisition was announced, I would say I hadn't heard of Griptape before. So can you give me an overview of what exactly it does?
Yeah, that's kind of what I said, that we were very lucky because we actually found them.
It was very under the radar.
Before anyone actually jumped into it. So it is actually an orchestration system. So what it will allow you to do is, either with AI or not, is how do we orchestrate pipelines? How do we orchestrate process? And it will allow you to actually use it for AI, obviously, because that's the best thing that you can orchestrate right now is agents and generative AI. So you actually have all the system to actually connect into it. And we are looking at it from the perspective of how do we bring this to artists. So everyone is there's a lot of tools out there, very complicated in different ways. We're actually trying to make sure that this is the side of the backbone, but also how do we bring that to artists into Nuke, into the pipelines that they already use.
When I checked out the website, it was like node-based as for like user interface, and I know there's Python scripting that you could get into if you wanted. How is it different than Comfy?
I think the main point for us is how do we allow you to do things in a safe manner. We understand how pipelines run, right? How do we actually make something stable? Make sure that that is the tool for you to actually be stable and do that. We are bringing a lot of other tools on top of that. We are simplifying some areas. We are connecting it to Nuke. We're connecting it to Katana and to other products and seeing what's the next feature of that. And we are not close. Obviously, with the side effects guys and anything else, like pipelines are not just a single thing, but how do we think about it into the future? And I think that's the difference. We understand what this is as a backbone and then build on top of that for what the industry actually needs.
Is it running local models? Can it access cloud models? All the above? How does...
Both. So you can actually do it with local models if you are interested on, or if you want to use cloud, we can handle the API keys, or you can bring your own API keys as well and just handle it yourself if you already have to deal with them.
Okay. And is Griptape still going to be available as a separate product? Like if I just wanted to use the AI tools or the orchestration of Griptape, or is it kind of going to be rolled into Nuke, and then if I wanted to use it, I would have to use Nuke?
No, not at all. Again, we understand that the pipelines is not just a single one of our tools, right? It's not just about Nuke, it's not just about Griptape. So no, it will be available as part of everything. What we will do, obviously, is we are making really good connections of how you actually build that with Nuke, for example. And I think compositors are the natural artists that are going to end up doing a lot of that work regardless.
And that's where, so going back to my initial thought of like, okay, so you got Griptape, Nuke Stage, Nuke. Where do you see all of these integrating, coming together, working in collaboration with each other?
I think that that's exactly what it is, right? It's different points of the pipeline, but also how do we connect everything together? For years, we have worked too disjointed on this industry, and there is many, many areas where metadata, things get lost, everything else. How can we actually pass that through? And I think between what we're doing with Nuke Stage and the Bolt and the new features that we're bringing there, even actually bringing Nuke earlier in the pipeline for artists to create the stuff to go into Stage, then take it to Stage into Nuke Studio or Hero and actually move that through. And if we can actually put a layer in between with Griptape, then that actually gives all the connection and how do we actually manage that connection throughout the pipeline and help everyone to bring that metadata and that information through. So that's where the story actually matters. It's actually how can we actually make the system work better for every artist that is at a given point.
There are models keep getting better and better, and then there are just video to video models where you can give it a video input and get some effects already done in a text prompt with the video to video input. How do you position Nuke in a world where a lot of visual effects and things that would have taken a lot of compositing or a lot of time or expertise are done with a text prompt?
I think it's very interesting. I think text prompts, are the terminal mode of AI. So if you think how you will, 20 years ago, will actually prompt Nuke to actually make something by going into a terminal and saying 10 pixels left, this, and that, and you'll get it done through the terminal. That's where we are with that. So I think that Nuke has a bigger place because of the artists, of how the artists are actually going to use this technology to actually get closer to the final image. And it's how do we actually build that? Because I think we are just at the beginning of that story. There is a lot of how we're going to change and how we're going to interact with the software. And 30 years of the experience of compositors of what they have done with images, with Nuke, is actually what you ended up doing today. Compositing is the oldest VFX technique in the whole of the film industry, right? From projection printing to today, is still that part of it. So how do we use those techniques from the artists into this new bit of technology? That's what we're trying to do there.
And give some sort of control.
And that is how you get the control, right? Because that's your artists are the people that actually get the control, right? They're not gonna go, oh yeah, a pixel is fine. No, they want to control that pixel.
Right, and when you want to actually change it and not do the slot roulette handle of trying to generate it.
Yeah, no one is gonna be in the roulette handle, right? The roulette handle is really nice at the beginning of the pipeline where you're thinking about ideas, everything else. And it works for certain parts, but not at the end. For you to make a film now, or a TV show, or an advertisement, you're thinking about every pixel of it. You have thought about it for months to get there. They want the control of that. They want that. And that's what we're trying to supply.
Yeah, I know we've been focused on AI because it's buzzy, but Gaussian Splats is also buzzy. What's happening with Gaussian Splats?
Yeah, so this is something that we were very excited last year. I said it, I had a few events last year where I brought up we went from kind of, Gaussian Splats are nice and beautiful, but to we are using them in production, right? It was literally within months, everyone going like, that's it, this actually works. And I think it was beautiful for us to be able to get the field system out so quickly and get it for everyone and see what people's already doing there. And how that actually attaches to some of the ideas that we had with deep and volumetric workflows and how do we push that forward. I think it's gonna be super interesting to see that and combined with AI, can you build worlds in volumetric spaces and that. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting part of everything that we'll be doing in the future.
Where most of the stuff that was in production was that scans of real locations that were used in production?
Yeah, I think I have seen two very good examples of it. One is the scanning of sets and just from photography
like
or
a backup.
Like a backup of everything else, and then just use it as for backgrounds. You have all the data. You don't have to do all the work to make it realistic. It looks photorealistic already,
Yeah.
right? So it's a massive push in that direction. And then the other side that I have seen it on is the least expected one, maybe, that is actually building CGI spaces, but running a realistic CGI space is very expensive. So what happens if you actually take photos of a high resolution version of it and make a splat out of that, instead of trying to decimate the quality to run it real time?
Okay, so you're still building your 3D environment that looks good, but then you're turning that into a Gaussian splat.
Into a Gaussian splat.
Okay.
Because then you can actually run it in real time.
Like a big environment.
Like a big environment.
Put it.
Right? And so you can actually bring that into Nuke Stage or anything in that space and have a realistic look without the expensiveness of running a real-time CG environment.
I thought where you're going with that was like gray boxing a 3D environment and then style transferring with AI.
Into AI. So that's the other side
and
of
then
that.
Gaussian splat.
So that's the other side of that, right? Is AI really is a renderer, if you think it that way. So if you can place it in that space, you can use the grayscale, render it, and give it the understanding of the elements and make it look amazing. And now you have a render that looks amazing, but if it is not perfect, you Gaussian splat it, you have an actual environment and a 3D space that you can reshoot and fix and do things into it.
Yeah, move around, reposition, and it stays consistent. You're not generating it every time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of space, a lot of thinking, I think, in that space that is going to be very, very interesting in the next few months.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, isn't it?
It was an exciting chat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.